Hi, welcome to Roy's Book Reviews. I am shooting this video the day after Thanksgiving in 2024. So I'll start off by wishing everyone a happy holiday weekend. Hopefully you've spent Thanksgiving with family, friends, loved ones, whoever comprises your circle of intimates, or at least you're enjoying not having to go into work for a couple of days. I know I am. And now I am going to get to it with reviews of two different novels, one of them that I read a few years ago and one of them that I just recently finished. The first one is Blind Man with a Pistol by Chester Himes. This is the one I read a while ago. It is basically an example of existentialism, old school Harlem style. It may not be for everybody. Certainly not for readers who want a clear-cut answer at the end of their whodunits. But I'm pretty sure Kafka and Camus would have approved of Blind Man with a Pistol. Who killed the pantsless man? Why did that woman kill that guy? Is any one person or organization behind the marches that quickly escalate into riots and looting? Questions such as these are asked, most are not answered definitively. Why not? Because Himes isn't really interested in providing a mystery to be solved. His goal is to make the point that most violence is like a blind man with a pistol, without aim, without strategy, without a point. Tragedies happen because the people of this world keep butting into each other. I especially like the final chapter, which stands apart from the rest of the book, while also representing all that came before it. Personally, I would have liked a little more cohesion to the plot, at least one case solved by deductive reasoning. That's a main reason one chooses to read a detective novel, after all. But Coffin Ed Johnson and Gravedigger Jones are no ordinary detectives, or at least their situation, as representatives of the law, but also outsiders to it, is unique for a crime novel. One could argue that it's actually a sociological and or philosophical book masquerading as a cops and robbers tale. Coffin and Gravedigger walk the line between white and black worlds, and sometimes you may wonder where their loyalty will lie. But the matter is never truly in doubt. They are honest men, good cops, whose goal is to do their job as permitted to do it, and to keep alive. Sometimes this allows them to catch a few bad guys. Other times, the bad guys have too much pull to be troubled much by the lowest guys in the legal totem pole. No matter. There's always another case to work on, another corpse on their beat, another reason why someone has to die, but never a particularly reasonable one. A blind man with a pistol doesn't really aim. He just points and fires, and whoever gets hit goes down. So that's what I had to say about Blind Man with a Pistol. I didn't go very heavily into the details of the plot because, as I mentioned, it's not really about the particular case to be solved, the mysteries that are presented and not really resolved for the reader. It's just about the setting. This is Harlem back in the day, black cops dealing with a lot of white criminals amongst the various criminals they have to deal with, and some of those criminals have more sway than they do. So, they do the best they can and call it a day. The second book I'm going to discuss is Lullaby by Chuck Palahniuk. This is the third Chuck Palahniuk book I've read, and it feels like each one has gotten progressively stranger and darker and less tied to the physics of reality. What has been consistent is the brilliant inventiveness and skill of wordplay. This man sure can write, and what he chooses to write exists only because he exists, since nobody else would possibly have come up with anything like it. In a literary world where certain plot structures and tropes are incessantly recycled for those who don't wish to do much thinking with their reading, resulting in works that are virtually indistinguishable from one another. It's wonderful to find a book like Lullaby that only exists because Chuck Palahniuk was put on earth to write it. Someone can absolutely loathe this novel, or the two novels of his I read previously, which are Rant and Snuff, yet still appreciate their uniqueness and Palahniuk's refusal to conform to the rules of bestseller type fiction. He did manage one crossover success early in his career. Many who never read it did watch and enjoy the hit film adaptation of his novel Fight Club. That was my introduction to his world building. And while no movies have been made from books of his that I subsequently read, and I totally get why movies were not made from them, his eccentric brilliance cannot be denied. In Lullaby, the protagonist is a journalist covering stories of sudden death syndrome. His investigation leads to the discovery that multiple babies died after having the same poem from a children's book read to them. Turns out that the poem is a culling song that brings death to whoever it is read to, whether unintentionally or, as happens with increased frequency as Lullaby moves along, done on purpose by people who have learned of its awful power. If that isn't bad enough, Carl Streeter doesn't even have to read the poem aloud to kill someone instantly. Thinking it is sufficient, and his victim doesn't even have to be in the same location as him. Sometimes he learns something that he does learn when killing someone over the radio who's annoying him. If this sounds like strange stuff, that's just for starters. The ride gets wilder and weirder as it goes along. Joined by three companions, the foursome travel the country trying to track down all known copies of the book, primarily in libraries, unless it's currently out on loan, to destroy the page with the culling song on it, page 27. The adventurers are on the same mission, but each have different agendas. They're on the hunt for magic. Not merely a single poem, but a book full of mystical mayhem. And nobody alive, including the other members of their group, especially them, can be trusted. Things keep getting more bizarre, and by the time we've gone into necrophilia territory, effortless murder has a variety of incentives after all. One wonders what the hell they're reading. But by that point, the reader is in too deep, compelled by Palahniuk's masterful prose to follow the course of this relatively short book to its inconclusive conclusion. It dawned on me towards the end that his novels remind me a little of the work of Tom Robbins, except that Tom's stories are much more optimistic and give us characters to like and root for, whereas Chuck is not interested in creating characters for us to care about. They exist for him to put through the ringer in all manner of twisted ways. Love him or hate him, and I'm definitely a fan, no cookie cutter is employed when he somehow comes up with this stuff. There are books that are for just about everybody, and then there are books meant only for the right readers. I'm delighted that both types exist. I myself write books that I hope everyone will enjoy, but I understand that it's meant more for some people than for others. So I'm certainly not what you would call an experimental writer. I pretty much keep to the laws of physics and logic and common sense and all that jazz. Anyway, that's about all I have to say about these two books. I recommend both of them. I recommend that you spend some of your holiday weekend where you're not putting on pounds and devouring all sorts of high calorie food, taking a moment to find a quiet corner and grab a good book and immerse yourself in a wonderful story. And that's why I'm wishing you happy reading. Until the next time, see you when I see you.